Mr. LamboRaul, are you trading anything today? Are you trading anything swing trades? I know you just closed out of some
No,
pretty big positions.
yeah, I just closed out of a pretty big position on NAS 100. I was actually short on NAS. I've been shorting NAS and US 30 for the last few weeks now. That's literally all I've been doing. Haven't traded GJ, haven't traded gold, nothing. Just literally shorting US 30 and NAS.
Any chance you want to show us your markup?
Sure.
Are you on the computer?
Yeah, man. So
Yeah, these markets have been bleeding.
yeah,
And I think we're just getting started.
yeah, been pretty bad. So NAS 100, right? So the way I like to trade and kind of base my entire trading methodology is all based off like your major supply and demand levels, support and resistance levels, right? So I like to keep things as simple as I possibly can when it comes down to trading. I don't know, you know how a lot of people like to trade with a bunch of indicators, use a bunch of like Fibonacci tools. Me personally, it just comes down to like supply and demand. So on the daily time frame, I have three major levels marked off within this entire market structure that's relevant to current price action movement. So when it came down to the position that I had taken earlier this morning on NAS, basically what I was looking at was this 12,100 area, which is an important area here of structure on NAS. And then really, I like to always look left because market structure is always going to leave clues to where you could see the next possible trade opportunity, right? And what I'll do is I'll break it down to a lower time frame. And then also, I don't know how like people, what would you call it? There's some people that like to use like psychological levels, round numbers, whole numbers, right? That's what I kind of been noticing with US 30 and with NAS, that typically like you'll see these levels get rejected. Like the short that I had taken the other day would rejected 12,500. So when it came down to price, you know, what I was really looking for was obviously a continuation of this entire bearish structure, right? This entire market has been absolutely bleeding and dropping like crazy. So first things first, I don't want to fight all of this bearish momentum. I want to go with the flow because I don't want to trade against the big boys, obviously, right? So going with the flow as much as I possibly can. Basically, all I was simply doing was breaking this down to a lower time frame and realistically looking at a few areas, but more importantly, I was paying attention to this 12,200 level. Right once price started to reject this 12,200 level, which you could kind of mark off here, right? Looking at it from an intraday perspective, we had the first rejection. I'll go down to like a 5-minute time frame. We had the first rejection, price pumped back up, rejected this 12,200 level yet again. And then this is kind of when I started to look for an entry after this second rejection of 12,200 because selling pressure was established in this area. After the rejection candlestick, I pretty much started to look for shorts, which I ended up getting short around this area right here, like 175 around this area here is pretty much when I got short with my stops above 12,200. And then my initial target was this low support down here, but obviously price hit that. I decided to actually continue to hold the position because I have a longer term target, which would be the next major area of support, which I'm looking at this area here, which this is another reason why I just closed out of my position. And then we have this area down here, which I then just exited the position once I hit this 4-hour low over here. Literally like kind of as simple as possible. Might sound like a little bit simpler than people would have probably expected it to be, but really I'm just trading with the trend and trading at levels of previous resistance.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. And also that entry was nice. What do you think about taking partial profits versus closing the full position? Is that something that you do? Like, could you have closed one of the positions and left another one running? Or do you believe like once it's done, it's done?
Personally, like that's not something that I practice because the way I see it is if I'm going to risk, right? Let's say I'm going to risk, I don't know, let's say I decide to take a trade here at this point, right? And I take a position here, my stops here, and my targets are up here. If I have a $20,000 risk on this trade and I'm looking to gain $40,000 on this position, if I cut my position in half, then what I'm doing is I'm killing my risk to reward. And again, like you have the potential of continuing to possibly make more than what you were targeting. But at the same time, like if I were to close here, then I didn't actually make my projected $40,000 that I was going to make, which then kills my risk to reward ratio. So me personally, I just kind of like to close the entire position, try and hold the entire position as long as I can. One thing that I try and focus on when it comes to like indices and this market in specific is really using the lower time frames to my advantage. So I can use a smaller stop loss as much as I possibly can. So I can decrease my risk while increasing my reward at the same exact time and really get huge risk to reward ratio trades because over the last few weeks, like trading NAS and trading US 30, I've been able to pull out pretty consistently like a 5-to-1, 6-to-1 risk to reward ratio, which is why I'm having like these crazy big 100K days, and they're pretty frequent. Like it feels like it's pretty average, but that's not like an average for me. I don't normally make $100,000 in a day, but it's kind of what it's been feeling like. And that's simply by just using the smaller timeframes and the larger timeframes and timeframe correlation as a whole to my advantage, and really focusing on like the bigger risk to reward ratio trades. But then I wouldn't be having these 100K days if I'd cut my position in half and like leave a runner. That's just how I personally see it. Obviously, everything in trading has its pros and cons. Because I can have a runner running from up here and I'd be in ridiculous profit. But then at the same time, everybody's gonna trade very differently. I feel like what works better for some people may not work well for others, and it's just kind of like you got to focus on what works for you. The majority of what suits your personality. Because
absolutely brilliant.
Be able to have a running position like that.
That's awesome, bro. I really appreciate you breaking that down. When you're looking at the chart now that it's kind of hit that area where you're sort of just waiting to see if it's going to continue to break or if it's going to pull back.
Yeah.
Are you just like in waiting mode, or since you close those trades, you're not looking for another opportunity?
As of right now, I'm not looking for another opportunity. We're about to approach lunchtime. So I know things are definitely going to slow down and they'll pick back up near the end of the day. But what I would kind of prepare myself for tomorrow, tomorrow's NFP is Friday, right? What I would kind of prepare myself for tomorrow is one, I would have to see how this daily candlestick closes. If this daily candlestick can close above this 12,137 area, then most likely we're going to continue to go down because price is now broken under support and it's closed under support, right? So it would be a little bit different if this daily candlestick closes above this area, right? If the daily candlestick closes above this area, then it shows us that buyers came into the market and we've now actually rejected this support, very similar to kind of what happened here. Notice how the daily time frame came down but ended up closing above, and the next day we saw a big move back into the upside. So if price does reject this 12,137 area, it's a completely different ballgame, because then we can expect price to give us a pullback into this 12,581 area, where then maybe we could see price continue to go down. Because realistically, like if you look at this structure in general, right, this isn't like a major pullback. I wouldn't consider this to be really a major pullback. This is kind of just one big impulse to the downside. It's been bear after bear after bear day, right? Now, if price were to actually come down and break and close under 12,137, then the way I would prepare myself for tomorrow's trade is I would have to first of all wait and see what price looks like in the New York session, because so much could change. But let's say we're pre-market hours and it's already kind of price is still trading under 12,137. All I would simply wait for is for price to pull back into 137, where we have this previous area of structure. And then I'd want to start to establish to see if there's actually rejection. If we could start seeing rejection, then that shows me that there's selling pressure in this area and that sellers are interested in going short in this area, which will then give me a good trade opportunity. Because if we look at it from like a 4-hour perspective or a daily perspective, realistically, the next level to go from 12,137 would be 11,700, which is a lot of room to run.
That's a lot of room.
Yeah, and that's literally like the same exact thing that I've been doing this entire time, trading NAS and trading US 30. It's like, okay, we have this area here, and then we have this area up here. If price can come down, reject, and close under 13,600, we could see a huge drop into pretty much 1,300 flat, which is this area here, and that's exactly what happened. Same thing under here. Once price can actually break under 12,800, we could see a big drop until 12,580, right? And then same thing with 12,580. I trade from major level to major level, and you could see that happen time and time again in the past. Like you could just back test, like the current levels. What happened to price when it rejected 12,581 and went up to 1,300. It's pretty much the same thing. So that's how I like to kind of trade, is from level to level, because then I already know what I'm going to do. There's no question of like, oh, maybe I should wait for this, wait for that. It's like, it's pretty black and white. If price does this, then I'll wait for this. Or if price does that, then I'll wait for that. Right? It's
100%. And if you're measuring those zones, they're all about the same price. Like they're all like equal distance from each other. And it's kind of how Nasdaq tends to move. The problem that people get stuck in is when it gets to a specific zone, they think, okay, it's at the zone, let me start taking a trade. What are some key tips that you use when it's at those levels to ensure that you're not jumping in too early into random trades?
Bro, the more important thing is like you got to wait for your signals. Everybody's going to trade very differently. You have traders that trade limit orders, you have traders that trade stop orders, and you have traders like me that trade market execution orders. right? But more importantly, like you gotta wait for your confirmation, right? That's why I wouldn't continue to look to short this right now. I would wait to see how the daily candlestick actually closes, because if the daily candlestick closes above, then that shows me that there's still a lot of selling pressure and that price would continue to go to the downside. But let's say price were to come into this area here, I'm not just going to randomly buy it because it hit an area of support. I want to see the rejection. I want to see that there's buyers interested in this area. I want to see that buying pressure. I want to see candlesticks look like this, where we have a lot of lost momentum to the downside. And then once I get that confirmation is when I'll start going down to the lower timeframes and looking for some form of a reversal, something along those lines. Or again, like kind of just like what I had broken down on gold. So on my free Telegram, I had posted like a little analysis on gold where basically, you know, what you could continue to look for on gold if you're going to continue to look to short it is a break under this intraday level of support being 1707. Once you see the break, wait for the pullback and establish that there's going to be selling pressure in this area. The selling pressure here was established, and that could have created a potential trading opportunity for you because you're now trading at an area of resistance. And then obviously when price rejects resistance, the nearest area to take profit at is the next area of support, which my long-term target here on gold would be 1681 if I were to trade gold right now. You know, but that's just kind of like how I like to always set up all my trades. It's waiting for at least the confirmation that there's buyers or sellers interested in that specific price range that you're looking at.
That's fire. So start with the higher time frames. Don't rush into the smaller time frame zones and stay down there. But then once you get higher time frame confirmations, people, then you can start to use the smaller time frames to your advantage. That's awesome, Raul. Appreciate you breaking that down.
Yeah, bro, of course, no problem.